actually figure out what we're doing.
Okay, so you're live.
So it does say we're live. Where does it say we're live? Oh, we've been live for 4 seconds. So let's see how this is working on Facebook, on YouTube.
YouTube, I'm not showing you on YouTube. It's still showing up comments.
Oops, I got it on YouTube. So it is
Still
working.
waiting.
Close. I've got it. It's showing up as the live chat.
Mine still says waiting.
So I just redo something, and then we're going to see how it looks on Facebook. If it looks.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, now turn the volume up. That's where we get the feedback. How it looks on Facebook. Doge, let's see. What Tucker Carlson? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So mySCGOP. And mySCGOP has us live. So, all right, I think we are live. So we're going to try this out. What we're seeing now, and I don't know, y'all can't see it on the screen. You can see it on Olga's screen and on my screen, but we're streaming this live onto our YouTube. This is our first test of trying to do this, but this is our Coffee and Politics. We normally do Coffee and Politics from 11 to 1 up here in Greenville. We're starting this one a little bit late because we were trying to get things done. I think in the future we'll try. The guys that we did the podcast with over in Spartanburg last week, they started 6:35 and they run for 2 hours. So they start at a picker time 5 minutes later. And I guess and they did the countdown, and we'll do a countdown and all that kind of stuff for our things. But what we're trying to do is I think Greenville is a pretty solid county when it comes to America First. And I think a great deal of our solidity is because we have sat here and had Coffee and Politics since 2022. I mean, early 22. I don't know. I mean, when we first started it, I think we had a couple people sitting around, and we didn't really expect, that much. But it gives an opportunity to talk about current events and talk about the current things that are going on, and also talk and also educate a lot of people on how what's really going on down at the State House, what's going on in D.C. We try not to focus too much on D.C. We want to focus more on local stuff. But I think our people here in Greenville, especially the folks that have been involved with us with coming here and learning, understand the game and the mental manipulation. So what a lot of other people across the state have asked us to do is to see if there's a way that we could podcast or broadcast our Coffee and Politics. Now, we've done it some with just sticking a tripod and Olga's cell phone over there, and we've done that. But what we want to do is more formalize it, and let people see and hear what we're hearing and seeing up here in Greenville. And so this is our first try at it. We're going to see how it works, and then we can see the ability to whether we can add in and do some more things during the week and do updates and things like that. Because there are a lot of moving pieces. There's a ton of moving pieces. And even this week, I mean, we talked about, what went on last night. David Pascoe switched from being a Democrat to a Republican. We've got all these conventions going on, which has been quite interesting to kind of see I hate to use the word ramrodding that the state party has done to certain counties of just not even running a fair election. So even if they were to win, that's one thing. But the fact that you don't even run a fair election, it just riles more people up. But I don't get depressed by that type of stuff. I tell our folks that if they ramrod their convention and take votes based on slates for county delegates and for leadership and all those types of things, and based on a voice vote, as somebody up there making that determination, oh well, these people have it versus those people. When it sounds like those people sounded much louder, it creates a lot of confusion and a lot of upsetness of folks. Yes.
Can you not just request a roll call vote?
They can. They tried a division. They were holding up cards, but that's why our philosophy. A lot of people want to talk about the rules and Robert's Rules of Order and going in there and trying to procedurally do it. But I will tell you, if you do not control in the sense of have a fair president of your temporary president and a fair permanent president for your convention, you have no shot. because they will determine and hear things the way they want to hear it. And what we've done in the past is when we've asked for those types of things, they'll sit there and say, "Oh, it's you're too late," or they'll turn off the microphone, or they'll do those types of things. And that is what has gotten the citizenry upset, and that's what's gotten people upset. And South Carolina Safe Elections with Laura Shaw and those guys, they put out a report about it earlier this week, and they actually did a little video. We may share that in one of our news emails or certainly online. But it was a good point. I mean, literally in Georgetown, they were providing people letters that were telling them that they were barred from participating in the GOP because they were associated or members of Greenville GOP. I'm sorry, mySCGOP. I mean, and some of these people are folks that I've never heard of. I don't know them. What is and that was their point. What is an association with mySCGOP? Oh, you watched our YouTube? You got an email? I mean, I know these people haven't paid us money, so they're not paid members or something like that. But I'm like, they're sitting there telling people, that they cannot participate in precinct reorganization in Georgetown County. And they provided a letter to these people. I mean, they wrote it down. You want to talk about, your civil rights? Oh, you can't participate because you're black. I mean, just substitute the word associated with mySCGOP for black or Asian or this or that. I mean, it's like, this is what they're doing. But what I've told our people is the positiveness of that is the fact that the other side has now gotten so desperate that they are doing things that even the worst of the worst establishment can't overlook. You cannot overlook barring people from participating in precinct reorganization because you're associated with a group. I mean, I get it. You can maybe bar them associated with the Democratic Party, but even in our rules, if a Democrat came in here and tried to participate in reorg, they have the right, to be voted out by their precinct. So these are people that are coming to the precinct meetings and saying, "Oh, you can't participate because you're associated with mySCGOP," and we don't even really know them or something like that. But again, that goes back to allowing, tolerating what the SCGOP did to me in the first place. Remember, back in December of 2021, I went to the meeting. My first meeting was in September. I went in December to the December meeting. But in the September meeting, I made the comment at the end of the meeting that Chad Conley, who was at the time the state executive committeeman from Newberry County, was under SLED investigation. Brandon Newton, who was an EC for Lancaster, he's a House rep. He's now the House whip, so he's definitely real part of the establishment down there. Young kid, works for, of course, USC Lancaster or upstate or whatever that. I think it's USC Lancaster over there. So he's got a paid job. He's paid by the government, and of course, he's on the government side. But he shut down the meeting, motioned to dismiss the meeting, and we shut down the meeting immediately. And then at the December meeting, they had a whole presentation and a PowerPoint that went off. Gave Chad Conley a moment of personal privilege, and he went on with a 20-minute PowerPoint video about what a horrible human being I was. And then they voted me out for lying about Chad being under SLED investigation. I wasn't lying about it. Their reasoning and their evidence for me lying about it is because they had FOIA'd the sign-in sheets at the Attorney General's office, and I had not signed in, even though I'd been to the Attorney General's office multiple times. And my question back to them was, how many witnesses to a crime literally sign in at the Attorney General's office on the subject to freedom of information, like FOIA, sign-in sheet? I'm like, of course, if I was there testifying as or being interviewed as a witness to a crime, why would I have signed in on a sign-in sheet? That's but that was their evidence. But that the go along to get along crowd at the state executive committee at that time, they just said, oh yeah, we need to vote this guy out, and so I got voted out on that. But then 2 days later, SLED confirmed that Chad had been under investigation for a year and a half, and then 1 day later, his friend Alan Wilson, who wants to run for governor. Alan Wilson, who, if you go in his office, there is, just like his dad. There's a lot of pictures.
We don't know, is it there?
What?
It was when we visited.
Well, when we visited, but on his walls, there's tons of pictures, him with a picture of, famous people or whatever. But it was you go in there and there's a picture of him and Chad Conley, but they said Chad Conley did not have they were not going to prosecute him or take it further because Chad Conley did not have what's called the necessary criminal intent to have embezzled the money. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? He was too stupid to know that he was taking the money? He was the executive director of a nonprofit organization, and by law and the IRS standards, you are deemed to have knowledge of what's going on if you're the executive director. It's not like a normal staff person. Secretary, gets $20,000 checks, and the board approves it, and it's outside the purview or outside the legal limits of how much he or she is supposed to be being paid. It's a secretary. It's not the executive director, and it's certainly not the executive director who for 2 years we've been pounding the table saying they're taking too much money. The legal limit is 2%, and they were taking the final calculations. They were taking 15%. So the ultimate, and that's always my joke. At the end of the day, if Jeff Davis had taken 15% when the legal limit was 2%, what do you think would happen to me? I would have been tarred, feathered, crucified, thrown under the bus, backed up over, everything under the planet. But a guy like Chad Conley, who runs his own organization, Faith Wins, who used to be in charge of faith outreach for the RNC, which there's a reason why he got that job, because he took the state party out of the lawsuit that would have given us closed primaries. Lindsey Graham, who doesn't want who wants open primaries? Lindsey Graham wants open primaries. Lindsey Graham got, the story is Lindsey got him a job at the RNC running faith outreach. And then as soon as Trump won, Chad Conley's out. Chad Conley was out not because, Trump didn't want faith outreach. Chad Conley was out because Chad Conley was, not part of the Trump agenda or whatnot. Certainly not America First by any form or fashion. So, and there's been tons of things that have gone on with Chad Conley since then, opposing the Trump administration and those types of things. And so, but that's where it started. It has progressed to what they did to Cynthia Jones in the first congressional district. Cynthia Jones was elected as state east. So she was elected in the first congressional district to be chairman of the first congressional district. And what happened is they came back and said that the people that nominated her had been credentialed improperly and were not part of the party. So the people that nominated her were incorrect. So she lost her election, and they had to do another election. While at the same time, up here in Greenville, in the 4th Congressional District, we elected somebody, our guy, Frank Tiller, and then they said Frank Tiller wasn't qualified because he was running in a competitive Republican race, and so he would have to resign in doing so. Well, we didn't get the opportunity to reelect somebody because we have the majority on the 4th Congressional District to reelect somebody. What they did is they said, well, whoever came in second wins. So it is shockingly amazing how what's going on is rules are interpreted one way if it benefits them. Rules are interpreted a different way if it benefits them over here. Same rules, same types of situation. Think about the first congressional district. You don't even need a person to nominate you. Their nominations aren't required. You can nominate yourself. But I'm like, you literally credentialed somebody, you let them in, that person was part of the credentialing report, that person nominated somebody for a position, and because that person you later on say went to an RFK dinner and donated to a Democrat, he was a Democrat at the time, or third party, whatever he was.
Purchased ticket.
He purchased ticket.
And that was recorded as a donation
Right.
to a Democrat technically.
Right. So that's why they're saying, oh, well, that person was kicked out of the party. Well, you knew that beforehand. Why did you credential him? Why did you let him nominate? Why did you,
Kind of a lesson for us. If you ever decide to attend any events, if they're events for a person that is running for office, even though that event is not considered a campaign event,
speaking of the mic?
no, your donation to that event or ticket you purchase will be recorded as a donation to that candidate.
Right.
Again, something to learn because being technically Republicans in the Republican Party, if we support Democrats financially or by endorsing, which donating is support, financial support, and maybe even endorsement, I don't know, that may cost us membership in the party by not our Green Room rules, just by is it state rules?
It's a state rule, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, that was lesson for many of us.
They can vote.
Olga and Keith, people
Yes.
that did that, they appealed it with RNC. Actually, the RFP campaign refunded them money when they learned about the issue. So that particular instance was resolved, and RNC fixed it for them, and Olga, Keith, and Lauren ended up coming to RNC and being credentialed. But again, for everyone so everyone knows some things we have to watch out for.
Right. And think about how that went. The RNC, they appealed what happened here to the RNC. The RNC reversed it. And the state party is part of the RNC, just like we're part of the state party. If so, the RNC reversed it and said these people you can't kick them out, because I suggested to them get what's his name RFK Jr. to refund you your money. They had no problem doing that. It was $500 a piece, and they refunded it. The RNC said no, you can't kick them out, and allowed them to come as elected delegates to the RNC convention in Milwaukee. The state party still kicks them out. Still won't let them come in.
My question is this: if you wanted to attend a function just to gain knowledge,
Yeah. Yes.
and it's not a
Do not
Republican,
Yes.
if you're going to go, pay cash, nothing that can be tracked back.
Well, yeah.
And
The question is,
there were times when
Olga.
I would get
we have to repeat the question.
Okay,
So the question was, if you go to an event just to gain knowledge, should you just pay in cash so there's no record that you donated to the other side? Yes, in some senses, yes. But if somebody is there and has a record of you, donating and sees you and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very careful about it because they are looking, for any excuse to kick me out. So I'm very careful about it. And I would forewarn anybody that's in county leadership, or if you're an EC or whatnot. I mean, we had one EC that just simply recommended or shared, I think, a write-in candidate against a rhino. It's improper. We're not supposed to support a write-in candidate against a rhino. But she just said, "Oh, let's get people to sign up for this," and the other side called her out, and she had to step aside. While at the same time, and I gave this example, and I went through it out of the Furman precinct, Ron Tamaccio, who was the Furman president. Ron Tamaccio wrote on Facebook about, we need to do a write-in campaign against William Timmons, and then I think also against maybe it wasn't Jason. It was against Jason Elliott, and I saw some people sitting there promoting the the constitutional candidate against Liz Seaman, and this is all in the general election. Once we get past the June primaries, do not talk about, even if you cannot stand them, they're horrible. We can pass something amongst the executive committee that will allow us to do it if it's that egregious of a case, but do not get caught, or realize that if you do get caught, they can take your position away. So we can fight it out in the primaries, and we do fight it out in the primaries. But once they're our nominee against a Democrat, it's our nominee.
And the donation part, again, fun fact I've learned, you may attend an event that, again, for a speaker that you would like to hear, and it happens that the event is hosted part of the campaign. Let's say Governor McMaster is campaigning and he is invited, I don't know, Trump to come and speak, and we're going to see Trump, you pay the $20 fee, and the next thing you start receiving fundraising letters for more money. That happened to me. I'm like, I'm not even a voter. Why you're asking me for money? Back before I became a citizen. Well, I paid to come see the speaker since the host was a campaign of such. That is considered a donation as well. Just something I've learned myself.
Which could be a trick, though. If it's a candidate that you don't like and they are charging $10 or something to go see it, go pay the $10, and they will probably spend about $50 in mailers to you. So, I mean, yeah.
People that are not friendly to you, they will accuse you of donating the $10 to this bad candidate.
But then you probably cost them $40 or $50 in postage, soliciting you for other stuff.
All those little things that we all learn as
Yes.
we go.
There's all kinds of tricky things that go on about this. But let's let's. I don't know if we've got any new people here today that we want to put on the spot. Let's not do that today. But let's talk about what Olga and I did last night. Is we went to Dorchester. There was a big announcement, and he came up here. David Pascoe came up here in it was actually, coincidentally enough, January 6th, 2022. So it was on the 1 year anniversary of DJ6. And I was waiting for everybody to connect those dots. And then we got a Democrat coming to speak, and he's speaking on January 6th, the anniversary of. But he came and spoke about judicial reform and all that type of stuff. He was a Democrat solicitor out of the 1st Congressional District. We took a ton of heat. Now, what I said back to those people is, you know what? He's an elected official. He is a solicitor. He is a prosecutor. He is talking our language. Our language is to sit there and fight corruption, expose corruption. There is so much corruption. It is like almost mind blowing. And I think it's massive here in the state of South Carolina. And I'm like, I don't care who he is. I don't care what party he is. He is an elected official and he is a public servant. He is going to come speak at our meeting. Now, he's also a classmate of mine from the Citadel. We went to law school together. So I do know and trust him in that respect, but also know the flip side is, he was out of the first solicitor's district, or first judicial district. So, that's Orangeburg. That's, really more Democrat territory down there. And of course, it was Calhoun, Orangeburg, and Dorchester. You have to essentially run as a Democrat down there. As in many places like here in Greenwood, you have to run as a Republican if you expect to get elected. So we have people, and this is okay to discuss. We have people that run as Republicans up here that aren't really following the Republican platform and the creed and all that type of stuff. Conversely, there are Democrats that do, or people that are more conservative than you might think, run as Democrats in certain areas where that's the only way to get elected. David Pascoe needed to run as a Democrat in that area, probably to get elected when he first ran for office 20 some years ago, whenever it was. But I will tell you, David Pascoe has been pro-life. He is tough on crime. What was the other? Oh, he's a huge Second Amendment person, gun rights person. And even last night I wasn't aware of it, but and I will tell you from my own personal struggles. I hate to say it's a struggle, but obviously being pro-life on the front end, I'm also understanding of the people that the Catholic position is against capital punishment. I want to punish people. I really, really do. On that side of it, I want there to be a something that stops people from doing bad things. As there's a guy up for the firing, I guess the firing squad today, that is, as David put it, the embodiment of evil. And I think there needs to be something to push back against those people. But I can at least understand that if we're going to protect life on the front end, we need to protect life perhaps on the back end. But I actually then can fall down and say, you know what, it's a whole lot cheaper to just leave them in jail than go through the appeals process. It really is. When we were in Atlanta, there was somebody that they were in court They were in a courtroom, video cameras everywhere, literally grabbed a sheriff's officer's firearm and I think killed the judge.
Oh my God.
And that happened in Atlanta. The public defender's office almost went bankrupt because they spent $7 million defending the guy because they wanted, of course, they wanted the death penalty and all that type of stuff. $7 million is what I recall. The public defender's office was spending to give this guy a defense. I'm like, it's on video. You got all these witnesses. I don't know what they spent the money on. I don't know why they did it, but I do know that through all those appeals processes, and then when you're dealing with somebody's life, because there have been people that put on death row that did not deserve it or did not commit the crime. So that scares the heck out of me, knowing that knowing how our judicial system is, knowing that a judge wants to put me in 90 days for jail right now or something that I cannot comply with, so I understand that. And I think when you're dealing with a life, maybe it's just, and plus maybe it's more torture to let them sit over there. Now, I don't let them, I don't say let them sit back with a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken and watch TV all day. I'm all about hard labor and all that kind of jazz, but but that's who David Pasco is, and that whoever this particular individual that's up for the firing squad, and I'm not sure if it was the family, but it was a couple that came and spoke about how their child was killed, and David was the person that got them justice and the such. So, but David Pasco is converted to a Republican.
What's his current position?
His current position, he's the solicitor in the 1st Judicial District, which is Calhoun County, Orangeburg County, and Dorchester County. He has done that for 20 some odd years. He is also the guy that Alan Wilson and those folks selected to prosecute. It wasn't Operation Lost Trust, but it was the one that came after. It was with the Quinn Dome and all that. The Quinn were a political consulting group out of Lexington. Everybody calls it the Lexington Mafia. It is true. I mean, it is like a mafia over there. And we've seen that with what they've done with Pamela Godwin and the chair down there, and Drew McKissick and Dave Wilson, and all those guys are out of that area. And it's David was the one that they picked to prosecute those guys, and he went after Republicans and Democrats, but he will give the story. And of course, we got a supermajority of Republicans, so there's probably more Republicans creating, some corruption down there, And then of course, he's just going after Republicans. No, he's going after Democrats too. And I can tell you, the Democrats are apoplectic right now because he switched parties. So I think what's lined up, and I don't think it's unobvious to anybody, is in 2026 we will elect all of our constitutional officers. That's the governor, lieutenant governor, a new attorney general, the treasurer's office. Thank God, Curtis Loftus is standing up and fighting, and we can talk about that in a second. He's going to run for reelection, but it'll be superintendent of education. It'll be, Department of Agricultural guy. It'll be all those types of things, but I mean, does anybody know a Republican solicitor, prosecutor, anybody that is going to go after what we would call the deep state or the establishment Republicans here in the state of South Carolina? There's nobody.
So did you ask him?
I didn't get to ask that question, but we've got a good
He can
question.
do it now. Any solicitor can do it.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll ask. I will ask.
And like you just asked, the others haven't done it.
Right. Well, and Carrie, let me tell you what Carrie's talking about. What Carrie's talking about, and I think it's a very good question. There's a lot of things that are in current law that can enforce. There is multiple ways to skin a cat, right? So we all believe in life, and if Pasco is a person who also believes in life, and I don't know if he believes in exceptions. I haven't asked him going on to those questions. There's grayness in it for some people. For some of us, once you kind of get through the fog and you're like, it's a life. I don't really, I'm not buying it. I get it. I hear what you're saying, but once you get through the fog, you kind of see it. But there is what the numbers are now is, yes, maybe the abortion clinic numbers are down, but it's the abortion pill, and it's being ordered across state borders, and that apparently is illegal in current law. In current law, Attorney General Alan Wilson could enforce it and stop that interstate transport of the abortion pill. Attorney General Alan Wilson's running for governor. Attorney General Alan Wilson doesn't want to enforce it. Well, Carrie's pointing out to me, and I'll take her word for it, any solicitor can enforce it.
That's what Representative McCready said.
That's what Representative McCravey, who's chairman of the family caucus, down there at the House, has said that. Nobody's doing it. Why is nobody doing it? It's a hairy situation. Now, I understand it's a hairy situation, but I also what my theory about this type of stuff, we always talk about elected officials. They only care about being reelected. If you're a candidate, you care about getting elected, and if you're already an elected official and you're running again, all you care about is your reelection, right? So these people don't want to upset this group over here. Or in our fight with school choice, they don't want to upset the teachers and all those people over there. If you run to be a candidate and to be a leader, I think it's your responsibility to lead. And part of that responsibility of leading is educating people on what's right and wrong. So, I think those weak solicitors who don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole are weak leaders because they're not going out and educating people on why it is. I actually had a conversation with a statewide national political consultant last night down in Dorchester that was there, and he's telling me about one particular senator, and he said, "Oh, well, that Republican senator just has a different opinion about school choice." And because the constituents in his area, the number one employer is the school system. And I'm like, okay, well, he needs to get into the school system and educate those school teachers and administrators exactly why school choice and freedom of choice is a good thing, as opposed to, oh, I just want to pacify them and keep those votes coming. Because I think I have no problem going into a school or sitting with folks on that side of the table and explaining exactly why school choice, independent school choice, is a good thing for the teachers and the administration. And even if they don't care about the kids, let me explain to you why it's good for you. It's good for you because it brings down the regulations. We have to have high regulations on our public schools because they're a monopoly. Guess what? If they're not a monopoly, we can bring down the regulations on them and let them actually teach. I talk to teachers all the time, and they're like, I have to follow this curriculum. They're upset because they're micromanaged. These are public school teachers. And I'm like, well, you're micromanaged because we have to have high regulations on you because there is no competition. Well, guess what? If everybody's got competition, you can go to that little Christian school over here, or this little homeschool co-op over here, or this little secular school over here, as opposed to just the public school. We can reduce those regulations. And if you're frustrated working for your public, I've had many a public school teacher tell me they talk about the bullying laws with kids. They're like, we need bullying laws against fellow teachers. I'm like, guess what? If we can sit there and empower all these other different schools, you can continue to be a teacher and go work at school at 1 or school 2 or school 3 over here, as opposed to working for this administrator that is pushing woke stuff down your throat, and you really don't want to have to pass that along to children. So I mean, there's an argument for it, but it's like we've got to get leaders that are willing to lead and will actually talk to people and educate them on it, as opposed to just put your finger in the air and go whichever way. I think we're now the citizenry and the knowledge system that we can get out of the internet. We're to the point where we need to just stop going along to get along, and we got to start doing what's right. And sometimes what's right is realizing what they're doing with Doge and Trump and all those guys are doing in DC is realizing this is a failing business, and we need to shake this business up. Well, if you think it's failing in DC, you ought to see how bad it's failing in Columbia. So can't trust anything. So David has become a Republican. I think that's very exciting. We did have some clapping
He
for
was a
that.
Republican all along.
He probably was Republican all along. It was funny. I didn't even recall this, but he said it last night as part of a speech. But I've always said it when I was at the Citadel. We obviously had the for us at an all male school, it was a reason to join a club and be able to go off campus and do a trip and maybe see some girls somewhere. But he was actually in the Citadel Republican Club, and I remember being in the Citadel Republican Club too. Like then, I don't know if we actually had a Democratic
I
club.
just got a text about it.
About
David Pasco.
okay, why don't you? Do you want to read it? Is it a good?
Breaking news: tough prosecutor becomes Republican.
Okay.
SC prosecutor David Pasco has switched parties and is now a Republican, saying
Okay.
Democrats have gone too far with woke ideologies. I can no longer, in good conscience, wear
Look on the monitor.
a label that stands for being soft on crime and illegal immigration, Pasco said.
Read. Do you mind reading it into the mic? I just want to make sure we're eventually going to this is our test, but we're kind of figuring it out. I think that mic is on,
Over.
but if you can start from the beginning and read it into that mic.
Breaking news: tough prosecutor becomes Republican. SC prosecutor David Pasco has switched parties and is now a Republican, saying Democrats have gone too far with woke ideologies. I can no longer, in good conscience, wear a label that stands for being soft on crime and illegal immigration, Pasco said. He's led a major corruption probe against powerful politicians, put 2 murderers on death row, and was the first to call for firing squads. Learn more about David Pasco's conservative leadership. CrushCorruptionSC.com.
Crush Corruption SC. I don't know that group yet. I assume there's obviously when people do these things, there's a plan, right?
Mhm.
So I think you're seeing the text messages coming through as part of the plan and all that kind of stuff. But I've talked to some friends of mine. Everybody I've talked to that is of our like mind across the state has said not only yes, but the hell yes. If I can say that. Because what are our options? There's one of the other individuals that I've heard was contemplating. Well, actually, there's been 2. I've heard Stephen Goldfinch, who's a state senator. We'll reference him second. But I've also heard of David Stumbo, who is a solicitor down in the Greenwood area down there. We've met Stumbo before. No particular issues or problems with him. I will tell you, I reached out to Stumbo as a follow up after Alan Wilson's office wouldn't do anything. So Stumbo didn't want to do anything because Alan Wilson's office didn't do anything. But because Chad Conley was in Stumbo's judicial district, I'm like, here is an affidavit, a sworn affidavit that is filed in court where Chad Conley perjured himself. I'm like, somebody needs to do something about it. The judge just in that court, that's the one that wants to give me the 90 days in jail. That judge said, well, I didn't use that sworn affidavit in my decision, so I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm like, okay, so think about that. You can file a perjured sworn affidavit, and because the judge didn't use it, you get off. No, if you file something that's perjured in this court, you're in trouble, right? Alan Wilson's office wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. We've talked about that. There's a picture of Chad and Alan on his wall, so they weren't going to do anything. Stumbo said, which is probably typical. Well, if a higher or other jurisdictions decided not to prosecute it, they don't really want to prosecute it. Now, he could have, he should have. Maybe I need to go back to him and push it. The beautiful thing about our state, weirdly enough, is there's essentially no statute of limitations. Think about that, and that's what I keep. There's some civil matters and things like that. There's like a 2 or 3 or 5 year statute. There's no statute of limitations. You commit a crime, they can perhaps go back after you 5, 10, 20 years later. There's no statute of limitations for murder. You murder somebody, they figure it out 20 years later, they can prosecute you. But I mean, this is a sworn affidavit. It's right there. I mean, I'm happy that we don't have a statute of limitations in the sense that, the problem is we have prosecutors that won't prosecute people. So Stumbo would touch that with a 10-foot pole. But what's even worse, and what has got me more disappointed about Solicitor Stumbo is is the Pamela Godwin instance and the Craig Caldwell instance in Lexington County. Craig Caldwell gets indicted only because David Pasco pushed the agenda, led to investigate it, pushed it, and it has made it such a public thing. They were going to have to do something, but Craig Caldwell, who was the chair of Lexington County, who Pamela Godwin replaced, Craig Caldwell was indicted for embezzlement, and I think it was 100 and some odd $1,000 for the Lexington GOP. I don't know what the net number was because there's money going in, money coming out. It was like the weirdest thing you've ever seen. But he was also apparently embezzling money. He was also on the Rotary Club or something like that. I think the Rotary Club, not mistaken. So he was on the Rotary Club and apparently embezzling from them too. I think the Rotary Club wanted just to. My impression was to just they don't. A lot of people will see that as bad press. I see it as bad press, yes, but I also see a criminal, and you got to go after them and push pretty hard about it. But what happened is Stumbo and apparently worked out a settlement agreement with Craig Caldwell for time served, 8 years, but no prison time for time served because he was in jail for 4 hours after he was indicted and before they could bail him out. So, what do you think? This is the general question. What do you think they would do to Jeff Davis if Jeff Davis had taken 100 and some odd $1,000 from the Greenville GOP?
He was in jail for 4 hours. Put him in there for 4 more years.
Well, he got 8 years. It was his plea deal, but time served. So yes, he's going to be on probation and some things like that.
7 years, 364 days, and
it's
20 hours.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. Where's the? I mean, we're going to literally put somebody to death today, while we're letting off a political pack, grifter, whatever you want to call them. I mean, that is not a society that I think we want to live in. That's not a society that we want the leaders that are leading our state to be doing. That information has to get out to people, and we need to let more people know these types of things. So do you think Solicitor Stumbo, if he was to run for AG, do you think he's going to sit there and prosecute anybody or do what Kerry is even looking for? I don't think we can find any Republicans that are going to do that. That's number one. Number two is the other person that I've heard is Stephen Goldfinch. He's another Citadel guy. Goldfinch has always been. We have had no interference with him. He signed on to our school choice bill, and it passed. In 23, they killed it on the House side. But so we've had no issues or run-ins with Stephen Goldfinch. But Stephen Goldfinch is one of the main people going after Curtis Loftus right now. Sorry, that puts you in the bad box. Why are we going after Curtis Loftus about a $1.8 billion accounting error when he's the investment guy? You guys all, maybe you have an investment person and you have a person that does your taxes, right? So the tax guy screws up my tax filing and I'm going to go blame the investment guy? No. The investment guy gets a horrible return and loses 50% of my money. Do I go blame my tax guy? No. I mean, it's the most messed up thing you've ever seen. But it is there. You can tell there's a concerted effort by Larry Grooms, who we definitely know is corrupt and a bad influence down there. I can show you the audio or the videotape of Larry Grooms stopping a $20 million private school choice proviso from going through after we got it passed years ago on the Senate side. Tom Davis put up an amendment. A bunch of people were outside the room, so he put up an amendment for the budget. You'll go through the whole budget process. He put up a budget amendment to bring the school choice program, this is back before it became permanent law, from like 10 million up to 20 million, just giving it back to independent nonprofits, which is what Olga and I participated in. Larry Grooms, and they all came rushing back into the room when they found out it passed. And Larry Grooms, guess who? Senator Vince Shaheen got up and gave a speech about why we shouldn't do it. This is on third reading. And then Republican. He's a Democrat, and he hates school choice, and he loves those pre-K learning programs, which the Freedom Caucus pushed through. Which is my other beef with the Freedom Caucus. Why are they pushing through the darling programs of the Democrats? And then and so he got up and spoke, which we would assume he was a Democrat opposed to it. And then the second person that got up and spoke was Republican Larry Grooms. Now, Larry Grooms, and I don't know if he still has this on his Facebook page, but I remember it from the old days. Go look at his Facebook page. His little profile picture was him carrying a big yellow "Do not tread on me" flag. Right? Those are the patriots, right? Don't tread on me. We got to learn to stop falling for what these people, what they say. We need to start watching what they do. We need to not look at what picture they have as their Facebook thing. Nate Loeb had a picture of him and Donald Trump for 4 years, sitting right there every day. Donald Trump was president of the United States, a picture of the two of them. But, a year before Donald Trump was elected, it's, anybody but Trump, right? So, and it's, we literally, this is the one lesson we all have to learn. We got to stop falling for their tricks. We got to stop falling for the trolling that they do. We got to, somebody, asked me or made some comment about something, ironically, Nate Lloyd had put out there on Facebook. And I'm like, the fact that you're even reading anything that guy is writing means you've already lost the war. Number one, anything they put out there is about distraction. Don't pay any attention to it. I mean, I do want to give people an opportunity. Maybe they have repented and they've come back to God and they do want to do something right. Well, every 3 months or every 6 months, we will sit down with you and give you an opportunity to repent and come back into the fold. But I'm like, I'm not on a daily basis going to read their junk. Stop reading their junk. I mean, it's crazy. And people were wanting to address something that he had written. Literally 2 weeks ago, or actually a week and a half ago, Chad Conley, and you could tell we're leading right up to the state convention. He's been charged with, let's make sure we can trash the heck out of Jeff Davis, so Jeff Davis won't run for state chairman and beat Drew McKissick. We came within 16 votes. Last time we were pretty close. We should be doing it this time. I don't mind giving an update on where that stands this year. But I'm like, literally he has just started a campaign and you can just watch it. It was pre-planned. It's like, let's throw this out there. Let's throw this out there. Let's throw this out there. And then let's get other people to spread it. Let's get another guy to put it on the news blog. It's all very interesting what they do. But what he was asking was why my wife, where she gets her money to afford her clothes, because she obviously spends a lot of money on clothes with all of her different outfits and things like that. You're right. Number one, it's none of their business.
You've also sold three different tax firms.
Oh well, yes, but that's a longer story. But right. Well,
They don't know. They don't know what that is.
They don't know.
Their wives spending all that, so they have to work and do a lot of bad things to afford their wife's spending. So I could actually teach them.
But I mean, but literally, I had a friend of ours who stopped me after a meeting that we had gone to and wanted to understand where we got our money or where Olga got her money to afford those clothes, because this person wanted to go back and defend me or us on social media. I'm like, I'm not getting into this conversation about what she does. And we talked about it last week too. And I told y'all what she does, and I'm actually okay with it. So it works out pretty well. But I'm like, we're not getting into this. I'm like, if you want to defend me and fight, go back and bring 10 more delegates to your county convention. That's what I care about. If you want to fight these idiots, go bring 10 more delegates. Every time you read their stupid stuff, and if it upsets you, go get another delegate. Don't get on social media. Yes, it is absolute distraction. It is to get us to not focus on mission. We have to avoid what they do. We got to stop falling for what they do. I say it not even just applying to me. I say it in applying to candidates too. If you have two candidates, and then they're running for office, and say we're on one side or the other, or we're indifferent. It doesn't really even matter. But then all of a sudden, 3 days before the election, it comes out that they did something 10 years ago. It's too late. I don't really care. If they murdered, I don't care what side they are on. Maybe if they murdered somebody and it just got discovered or something. But 10 years ago, they cheated on their wife or their husband. They had an affair. I'm like, you knew that. Why did you not tell us that, a month or 2 months or 3 months? You calculated that to manipulate the public to support or not support one person or the other. You're part of the problem. It's dirty, and I know it's a heavy lift to try to sit there and think that we should not participate in dirty politics and all that type of stuff. But I think if we want to be a better society, that's what we have to do. We have to overlook this stuff and not fall for the tricks. Mark, what they did to that the guy that was running for governor up in North Carolina, Mark Robinson. Oh, we found somewhere on something that he was on a porn site and did blah blah blah, blah blah, for 20 some years ago. Now, whether he did or not, I don't really even know. But you pull it up and you bring it up right before the election. Yeah, bad stuff if true. Number one, if true. Number two, if you're, as it's been explained to me, he was already he became a saved Christian, professed his Christianity and all that kind of stuff after that. So is he saved or is he not saved? Do we overlook what he did in his past life or do we not? I mean, I don't. People have to make their own decision in that regards. But I'm like, Mark Robinson was slated to be the governor of North Carolina. And now they got some Democrat up there who's pushing woke ideology, but we're upset because Mark Robinson 20 years ago went on a porn site and wrote something or did something. I mean, we pick, which one? What do you want? If we are fall for those tricks, we deserve what we get. That's the type of leadership we get. Yes, sir.
We talked about the convention.
Convention, yes. I will. Do you want to give an update on the convention? The convention is on Monday. Do speak into the microphone just to be sure. No, you have a microphone right there.
Okay,
You can-
so you can sit on the camera.
But speaking, you have. I'm going to say it. I know, but I'm speaking to the microphone. They can hear.
So if you are
She won't speak in the microphone. It has. I'm going to tell you.
I promise it's working.
All right.
If you have not received 3 emails this week, if you're a delegate and you have not received 3 emails this week with different details about convention, they are in your spam folder. Go search Greenville County Republican Party in your email box, and hopefully they will pop up. I keep checking every day. We don't have any emails that bounce back or go to unsubscribe, so there is no reason that our 780 delegates don't have their emails updates in the convention about the convention in your box.
And let me explain why that is. We have noticed a precipitous attack on our email system since the beginning of March. So even my emails that I'm getting from us, to other systems, to my Gmail account, the Yahoo account, even those are going to spam.
The devil's working fast.
Yes. Now we all talk about it. Oh, we know the Russians interfere with things, the Chinese interfere with things. I'm like, you don't think the rhinos are interfering with what we're doing? They are interfering with it, and they are doing things. And and so realize we haven't cut people off with the email system. Check your spam, and even in some people's instances, we've sat with them and tried to find it in their spam and not able to find it whatsoever. So there are technological ways to do that and that there is a whole infrastructure and battle and war that goes on there, which is why what we have said, hey, we're trying to post it onto the Facebook page. We're trying to post that information, other ways. We actually want to have multiple emailing systems by zone. We want to we know it's going to happen. We need to be prepared for it. Texting where we can text other people. We'll work on that in the next 2 weeks with Austin on that texting stuff, so we can get that and get now that we can get past the convention, focus on all that kind of stuff. But you ought to be reaching out to people that and just if you got it, forward it to the people. Or forward a link to where it is on the website and that type of stuff. So realize that's what's going on. There is evil at work. That it's what they do and it's what they get paid for. And don't forget, there's for our on the national level, there's trillions of dollars at stake. On this level, they think for them, if they're corrupt on that side, they think there's millions and millions and tens of millions involved in who gets, political contracts and those types of things for consulting contracts and all that kind of stuff. They know we don't play those games, but the other side is willing to play those games. So there's no money in it for us, which is the bummer. There's a ton of money in it for them. So they invest a bunch of money in doing all these types of things.
Okay, back to convention.
Yes.
Now I lost my thought. So number one, we have access to the center, to the convention center, starting at 8 a.m. Actually, I just even noticed that Yvonne will be there at 6 doing a first TV interview. If anyone would like to help set up, we'll be setting up between around 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. And what I mean set up, anything from what do you call it, blowing balloons. We have a lot of balloons to get ready for the stage, doing credentialing setup.
So we are doing the balloon drop for
No,
the election.
There's no dropping it in it.
we'll throw it after you. Yeah.
I wanted the one balloon drop. Just drop one balloon.
We are paying enough money just to have access to different
this
things.
place.
We were just discussing, we're glad they're not charging us to use the restroom at the convention center. No
Yeah.
kidding. Like, we're not going to go into it, but it's a wake up call when you start planning these things and figuring out what's happening. So if you want to help out with setup, you can join us at any time. You don't have to be there the whole day. Come for an hour, we'll put you to work. Now, we open doors at 4. It's early, but we want people to come early if you can. So there's no rush that everyone comes at 6 o'clock. There's a line of 200 people. We will have vendors. We have 17 vendors that will be in the hallway. Anything from mySCGOP will be there with T-shirts. There will be, who else? Harry. We have 17.
Harry's the one.
Harry.
I mean, we have a lot of
Party.
health stuff.
We have some health
Gold
vendors,
will be there.
gold and silver.
A lot of Linda Craig folks.
Right.
Linda Craig,
You've ever
health
been
related. I think Carrie,
Yeah,
GCR,
Carrie,
Oh, dude, good.
yep.
for
Carrie's
life
got one.
committee table. So a lot of fun things to look around.
And natural family planning as well.
Yeah.
Natural family planning, perfect. We'll have food opportunities. That starts at 4.
We got a lot of music.
We have like music. Steve Eager will be playing music. So if you want to just come and enjoy that, we will have a concession stand starting at 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. They'll be serving chill
Who?
entrees, chill,
Chill.
cold,
Okay. Yes. Okay.
snacks,
Sound-
drinks,
sounds
and
wraps.
coffee. That is what we opted out for. Again, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. 8 p.m. The convention does not allow bring your own stuff. Now, what that means, they said you're not checking your purses or anything like that. If they see you
Yes.
walking in with
Should we hit mute real quick?
Yeah,
if
you're
they
not going to
see you
name
walking in with a pizza, they will stop you. If they see you come with a big cooler, they will stop you. Can you have a bottle of water? I will not say no because giving everyone's need and medical needs,
that is at
Somebody
your
voted yes on pizza control, apparently.
Mm-mm. Well, they will have
They-
waters and stuff
The
there.
convention center does not let you bring in outside
Outside
food.
food.
So what they do is they have a full kitchen and all that stuff. So and
So
everything
we-
is overpriced out the
Yes.
wazoo.
Right.
You know,
So the concession stand, we try to get as much detail as possible. We opted out for the chilled, meals, whatever. They're going to be salads and some type of wraps, whatever that means. We had to pay for it, and then if we sell enough, I think the $750 of it, we will get the money back. So if you spend money on food, you just kind of contribute to the Greenville GOP. You don't have to pay for it. But we're not making any money. It's all going to them. And we thought that it's good to have that option for people that will come, don't bring anything,
Mhm.
and will get hungry if the convention.
And they only take debit cards and credit cards, no
Yes.
cash.
No
Remind,
cash.
remember that.
Yeah.
No cash.
For the vendors, if you're buying, I assume some people will be selling stuff. I assume it's all cash, credit card, debit card. Just be prepared for it all. Steve Eager will be playing between 4 p.m. and 4:30 until 6:30. Just again something to have there, and you can enjoy your time, eat your meal, look at vendors, mingle. We don't have yet information about our guest speakers, whether there will be probably some press conference going on, things like that, but our celebrities are still confirming their plans, and that will be probably kind of on the go, not early announcement what time they'll be available. The convention doubles it at 6:30 p.m. Everyone will have to be in the room on the convention floor if you're a delegate. That's why the vendors will be shut down by 6:30 because some of our vendors are also delegates. If they're not delegates, we expect all our guests and delegates be in the room so no one is wandering the hallways. We gavel at 6:30. We do first quick procedural things, and let me put up an agenda there. We start with prayer pledge, just like our business meetings. The first order of convention, we do have to elect temporary officers and approve temporary agenda and convention rules. One of the emails that we received this week, it had the convention rules. Review it. It's nothing crazy like that they did in other counties like Charleston. They're really fair and easy and probably copied from last time.
Yeah, I think they're the exact same rules they used 2 years
So
ago.
nothing for you to kind of be worried about, but obviously we wanted you to see it, and it was included in the email that we send out. Once we elect those temporary officers, temporary presidents, approve the agenda. Yes, Darren.
How's voting done?
So this is the agenda, by the way, if you can see it. We are prepared for obviously every scenario and situation. We assume that the voting for the temporary officers, it will be a voice vote.
We don't know that anybody else is running against. For the temporary officers, so we elect a temporary officer, temporary president, and I guess a temporary secretary. Go through the process, and normally that will be the permanent. We're going to do Ray Sheen is our temporary president, and then I guess Angie as our secretary.
I just confirmed all of those messages are in my junk folder.
Are they really?
And you have to search. You can't search for mySCGOP. You have to search for Greenville.
Yes. Yes.
Or you start typing it in.
Team at. Yeah.
Right.
They both start with the team at, so you could maybe do that.
Anybody who needs it.
Yeah. So move them to your regular box, put it in your address, name it as a safe sender, that type. But it was a definitive. I could see it the day it happened, and it was definitely somebody did something on that side.
So Darren, we're prepared for any scenario. Also, the first email that you have gotten this week, we did ask for candidates if there's anyone running for any positions. Not that we have to know it, but to make it the process easy, so we could include them on the ballot, plan ahead. No one responded, so as far as we know, there is no challengers to these officer positions, the convention officer positions, or our officers running for Greenville GOP leadership. But again, they may pop up off of the floor, and we'll be ready for it. We
And
want
that's
them-
actually a bad thing. Nobody wants this job, including us.
So if,
I second
if we
that.
can, if we can do the voice vote, that will be the preferred, way, because if
It'll be the
there's no
fastest.
opposition, we will be united, and there will be a clear, clear voice. But again, we're prepared for any other, whether there's division or even secret ballot, but I don't think that would be necessary, especially for the convention officers.
I think it's going to be pretty unanimous on our side, so I don't think there's going to be any debate or anything like that. Remember 2 years ago, they were like, "Oh, raise voice, and then raise your hand," and then they split us, made us walk. I mean, I thank God for the fact that what's his name was who's our
I don't know what you're thinking.
the opening president to you. Oh, Martin. Thankfully, Martin Benoit was fair. Martin Benoit could have easily said, "Oh, I think those people have it," and there would have been nothing we could have done.
Yep.
There would have been nothing we could have done. That's what they did in Charleston. That's what they did. That's probably what they're going to do in Berkeley and Dorchester this weekend. They just, they call it, "Oh, I think these people have it," and it's all, But Mark Benoit was with the SCGOP. He had another job lined up. And I think, I give him a lot of respect for not corrupting everything he was about. So
After we, yes, Karen.
So since most or all of them didn't sign up as delegates, that means they can't vote.
yeah, they can't even
So
call.
the
can't
delegate,
even talk.
the delegate signups were closed 5 days before the convention, which was this past Wednesday. None of the bad players signed up as delegates, and that's been cut off. And there will be no other delegates added any longer. So no, they're out of any voting opportunities for
Yep.
the shot.
And we could have some crazies that get up there just like to hear themselves speak.
Yeah. You talking about me again?
Oh. We could have a lot of crazies.
Yes. Yes, seriously. Since I'm Lindsay.
Hey, Olga, are we going to do sitting down by precinct, or are we going to let everybody just sit?
So we will do by precinct. However, we will be somewhat casual about it, meaning we have had requests of precincts wanting to sit together because we don't know each other, and that will be an opportunity for you to meet your neighbors in your precinct. But there are a lot of precincts, not a lot, some precincts that have only one or two people, and we don't want them to just be on their own. So you still be
Kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah.
mingled. And as long as, obviously, there will be a structure that only voting delegates will be in certain area. But if you want to mingle within, we're not voting by precinct in any way. So
Are we bringing the polls with the
Yes.
precinct name? If we just brought
Yes,
those
we're
in
bringing
any
them.
precinct that wants to, have them grab it.
we have these tall sticks with precinct's name. We will bring them, and we will set them
If you
up.
want to be in charge of your
Somewhere.
precinct, grab it and make the
However,
charge.
it would look weird if the precincts that have only one person, there was a poll and poll and poll and poll. So we're going to be somewhat flexible, but it will be, you will know
Yes, it
where
would
to
look
go,
good. Yes,
and you
yes.
will know where to sit.
So we'll have that. Y'all, any precinct wants to grab it and say, "Hey, our precinct's here," and thank Tommy for
Yes.
making the rest
Yes,
of the
thank you,
missing
Tommy.
ones.
We
they're very
inherited some of the sticks from the previous administration, and we haven't used them since. Tommy and David took, I think, a few days and all. They went over, did inventory. What precincts didn't have their stick, and those they went to Home Depot or somewhere, cut wood, created names. So that was their. And when you don't have, then cut it. Apparently, I didn't.
Very
I think those are the sticks that Don was getting beat on by his wife. So he was happy to get rid of those sticks.
That's what that.
Is that what you made the story?
I vacuumed up over almost 4 gallons of Sawdust.
Really?
There was a lot of solar.
There was a lot of sawdust.
So
Well,
wait,
there's 6. So I think, us being cheap, we bought one big piece of wood and just
That's the way you do it. You know?
that's the way you do it.
Frugal, not sweet,
Wait.
frugal.
frugal. We're frugal.
When you see those beautiful sticks, think of these guys.
That's-
How hard they work. So that's that. When we made the first vote on the temporary president, that happens. We move on to the fun part, the speakers. Bill Frady will be introduced first, and he will serve as our kind of MC for the speaker part. After Bill Frady, we will have Congresswoman Nancy May speaking only for about 10 minutes. They're not going to be long speeches. Then there is Treasurer Kurt Loftus. If you don't know what's happening with him, Google his name. They're really going after him.
April 21st, they're holding a hearing on impeaching him.
Right.
I want us to get a bunch of people and go down there. We got to talk about it. I'm not all into just going down to the State House for stupid stuff anymore. But I think this is probably one of the most important things that, I know Dr. Simmer and all that kind of jazz was a big deal. This to me is even bigger because if the corrupt politicians in our legislature get control of the money and who custodies the money and what bank the money's held in and blah, blah, blah. I come from that kind of a banking world and investment world. It will be a disaster. So they want him out.
There's a reason.
And
So
they
you
want
will-
him out because he speaks back.
You will
He's
hear
honest.
from him. We don't know what he's going to be speaking about, whether that's going to be it.
What time?
But he is definitely like-minded. He spoke to us when we were, before we got involved with Greenville GOP. Jeff was part of the Greenville Tea Party, and he, from the very beginning, was about grassroots and explaining to us how to get involved, and that's how we are today. So he's definitely like-minded. And
Curtis Loftus gave the speech for us at the Greenville Tea Party, and it was actually one of my favorite parts that he talked about. What he said is we need more lawyers and CPAs getting involved in all this stuff. We talk, CPAs, but I think he said
We have enough lawyers.
I think he said lawyers getting involved on this side of the battle, but in particular CPAs. I think he emphasized accountants, numbers people, because everybody wants Doge. We are Doge. The Doge is the citizens that are willing to get in there, send FOIA requests, get access to documents, and analyze the documents in a professional manner and show the proof of what the bad things that are going on. That takes work. That's what Steve Bannon talks about, is the pick and shovel work of actually doing the work, as opposed to, let's get on social media and respond to about how Olga pies her clothes. Forget that stuff. Do the pick and shovel work. I mean, that send FOIA requests, do those types of things. That's how we win this war. It's not by getting distracted by the consultants.
Right. So that's Curtis Loftus, and after him, we have our main speaker, which is Steve Bannon. We don't know what he's going to be speaking about, but
Well, hopefully that's what he speaks about.
Funny story. We got so busy after Steve accepted our invitation to come. We kind of have not kept in touch because we were busy, and it was always, we'll text him tomorrow, we'll text him tomorrow, and we have realized, I think, on this Wednesday, that we haven't heard from him. So we don't want to bother him. Obviously, we messaged his daughter just to get idea, and we haven't heard from her. So Jeff woke up Thursday, and he was like, "Oh my God, what if they're not coming now?" Right? So I said, "Well, just text Steve again, right?" And sometimes his daughter is just busy, running things. And so Jeff texted him just like, "Oh, are you hopefully still coming?" And his answer within a minute, "Hell yeah, another way."
And actually, Maureen Bannon just texted asking what specific time he's speaking. In all honesty, there is a lot going on the national stuff, and he is intimately involved in it. He's always talked about the anti-CCP, Chinese Communist Party. and with the trade war, which is ratcheting up, all that kind of stuff. I think he's going. She said yesterday he's going to be on. He can't get on Bill Frady's show today, which it's been disappointing because he wanted to do a lot of local media, but I think this is, and he makes the comment, and y'all probably seen it if you watched it. There are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen, right? And these right now, what's going on? These are weeks where decades are occurring. We are in a war, and then we are in a war with China, and he's fighting that.
They just want to come to the convention to watch.
Right. So, and I mean, every email, you see what I'm talking about. Either you don't read emails, or there is a link. You can get a ticket for $25.
He set me up for an easy question.
$25 tickets. We are not cutting off that sale until probably Sunday evening because our credentialing team will want to know. You cannot just come without registering because for safety reasons, we want to know who's coming into our venue.
If you bring somebody though, and if you're vouching for them, we're gonna
don't do it for our credentialing people.
But that's not credentialing. That's guests.
But still,
We don't want to do it.
Check.
We have also codes to get people in for free. It's not about paying the $25. It's about having their name.
In order.
That
Okay.
We have a code that you can get a free ticket. We want as many people.
I just want to know the process.
Okay, but there should be no excuse for somebody coming as guests. What we want people to do is sign. When we did this right after COVID, they did what's the Candace Owens tour?
I was in Poland. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. But whatever Candace Owens and their group did, Presley set it up, and they charge $1 for a ticket. Because what will happen is if you don't charge anything, the other side will come in and buy all your tickets on Eventbrite. And we saw it. We've seen it before. It's like crazy what they do. So Candace and Owens and those guys, they weren't trying to raise money for tickets, but they made you go to Eventbrite, put down your name and your credit card, and then it's a real human. Now, we have had a few people say some things about protesting. I don't really, find that's going to happen.
This is exactly what, and I know Jeff, and I agree with him. I would let anyone in if Frank brings it or you bring it. Our checking in team may not know Frank or may not know.
Okay, Henry doesn't count.
When I told Jeff not to do it to our credentialing team because they will be calling us. Like,
well, Henry voted for the Rhinos 2 years ago. So I guess he did. I was a Rhino 4 years ago.
So that's what I'm saying. We cannot expect our, and we have volunteers coming from out of the county. We cannot expect our volunteers from other counties to know all of you and say, oh yeah, you can come in, but the bad people, what I mean? That's why we need just names, and we'll put you on a check-in list. That's why we ask for registration.
The way the setup is long way, just like last time. We'll have the stage. We're going to have some VIP seats for VIP people, whatever, out of county people, friends that come. They can sit right there facing the stage from the right if you're standing on the stage. The music will be on the left side of the stage, so Steve and those guys. Then it just goes rows back, straight back. First will be delegates, and if you grab your poll and you go stake your area, that's where your folks will sit. We don't have that many alternates because there's so many delegates. I think technically we only have like 13 alternates, out there. So most people are delegates. So technically the alternates will sit, I don't really care. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. And then guests will sit behind that. So, because the only reason we're splitting it up is for the voting part. Yes.
We'll have signs one week for the guests will go and stuff.
Yeah, there's seven. How many? Seven delegates.
100.
It's just under 800.
80 maybe.
Yeah, under 800 delegates. I think we had just over 1,000 Form 1s that completely participated in precinct reorg. So.
More delegates than any other county, right?
Certainly more than any other county. Yes. I would like to have 2,300 and 2,330 2032. But that's why we have a meeting on June 16th of this year, and we will start planning for the convention in 27. And I want us to have 3,000 or 4,000. So
We're going for 6,000.
we're going. I mean, it's, there's no reason we can't do that.
780, but then you said 1,000 forms.
That participated, 780 some odd of or delegates in the county paid the $20 to come to county convention. We had 1,000 people. Some people can't come to county convention.
Some don't want to be delegates.
They don't want to be delegates.
They just came to reorg.
Right. So
Don't know why.
you don't have to pay. You can. Somebody can go. I could go to the precinct reorg, fill out my Form 1, and I'm done. I'm out. And I'll see you too.
Officers are also delegates, right?
Not
No,
automatic.
not automatically.
Automatically, you got to pay for the
Yes.
Because officers don't have to pay, delegates have to pay.
pay.
We have, but then you also have. But if you want to be a state delegate, you have to be a delegate to the county. So, like, we have one person who signed up to be a county delegate. They can't come. They know they can't come. They paid the $20, but no, they can't come. But they want to be elected to be a state delegate because they'll be back on vacation then.
So when are the vendors supposed to clean up their stuff and tables and bring it to the
Well,
bar?
there is no time they have to clean up. We have the place until midnight, but I think they were told that by 6:30, everyone will be in the room, so there will not be any more movement for the vendors. So we suggest they pack up then.
When did you say?
6:30. It's
much
once
your delegate?
the convention gavels in, we're out on the hallway.
But for you, you want to come in and watch
Oh,
it.
yeah.
You can plan it
You're
later.
able
You
to
have
be
till
there.
midnight.
Yeah.
So
Because after the convention, we all be cleaning up, and we have until midnight to do so. Going back to the agenda, once we elect the temporary president and officers, we are listening to the speakers. That is where our credentialing team works really hard to count and tabulate, to verify all the delegates, who checked in, who didn't check in, because without that information, we cannot take votes for permanent president and officers, or for people running for any other spots. So we're going to use the speaker time for credentialing team to do their work and issue a credentialing report. When Bannon is done speaking, hopefully our credentialing team will have the report ready. Joe comes and presents the credentialing report. They tell us how many delegates were credentialed. That number means how many votes we can have, the maximum number of votes or on any vote. And that is when we start the fun part, the voting part. If there are any guests that don't want to stay for that part, they're welcome to go and leave. Some people may want to watch how we do the convention and what's happening, but there will be a little break there, I assume, so people can leave and they don't have to stay for that part. So voting begins. We start with permanent convention president, officers, secretary, president, approval on the convention minutes.
we'll
and
elect the
send-
temporary in the beginning
And we have to.
after the speakers, and once we have a credentialing report and we know how many voters there are and everybody's certified, then you can elect the permanent. That's why they do the two different elections, because you don't really know, because your temporary president, somebody has to preside before you get the credentialing report, right? So a lot of people in other counties are like, why do we have to do the temporary and the permanent? And I'm like, it's because it's all based on credentialing. Nothing's official until you credential. So it's a temporary president, secretary, just based on, we don't know the numbers, then it becomes permanent.
So
They can be the same person, right?
they
It
will
can't
be
be
the same people.
Normally it's the same person, yes.
We
yes.
just want to, put a stamp on it that now the real voters
Right.
voting. Yes,
Do we only have a list of who we can vote for, who's running?
Yes. There'll be a ballot for that, yes. For
So-
state delegates,
Well,
yes.
no,
No,
Also-
she's talking about the
officers.
officers.
Yeah. we have, if you grab a flyer on your way out, there are the officers that's running. We haven't advertised who's running for the president and all, but we may send email about it. I will make sure you get that.
Yeah, so.
And-
Yeah, but I don't think there's going to be competition for anything. But I mean, I will tell you who's run. I'm running for chair. I'm going to run for state EC if Mike Voden for first vice chair. That's the only county. That's the only county leaders that we'll elect.
That we
Then
do.
we elect the what you call it, the state delegates.
And that'll be the fun part.
That's the fun part.
That will be
Yeah,
go over that part. So
I remember that. 'Cause
Um,
Okay.
I'm an alternate.
Yes.
So I have a question.
Yes.
What are we gonna wear?
there you go. That's the important part.
So
who's yeah, what's the idea? What do we want to wear?
Yeah.
Darren is like, I don't know. Terry, what are you wearing?
To what, county or state? Oh, I don't know what you want to say. County, I'm gonna wear probably my GOP.
To county.
Yeah, let me dress up.
We wore those t-shirts
I'll
2
wear my
years
velvet
ago.
gown, how's that?
You all see anything?
We
I
got
think a lot of
shirts,
people, a lot of people want to be patriotic.
We got these. We got GOP ones that are black. You know.
I don't think people do.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah. I don't think people do at the state either. So after we vote we will vote for the chairman, vice chairman, and state executive committeeman, 3 elections. Once those votes are being counted, we will start.
It's counted. It may, if nobody else is running, it may just be by acclamation.
Right, but we're ready for anything.
I mean,
We're ready for anything. So after that, we'll start voting for state delegates. Now, Greenville County will send 90 delegates to the state convention that is on May 3rd in Columbia. We have approximately 370 people that wanted to be on the ballot for the 90 delegates. It will be 90 delegates and 90 alternates. Now, you will have an option how to vote. You will receive a ballot that will be 2 pages. It will have all 300 plus names on it. Every person that paid and declared to be candidate for state delegate, the name will be on it alphabetically. There is one mistake in the alphabet, so you will probably see it. The person is aware. It's all good. In case you don't want to sit there and mark 180 people on the ballot, you will also see a sheet of names that nominating committee picked to go to the state convention. There are people that some names you may recognize, some you may not. There are people that we trust them, they're solid America First people. Most of them are very involved with our group, that we trust they will go and vote the right way, because that's our goal. We want to all be on the same page voting at the state convention, whatever happens. That will be all in your pocket. So again, you will have an option at the top of the ballot to just mark that you vote for this group of people. You mark that and you're done.
That helps with the counting. Because, I mean, that's the only concern, and we talked to Yvonne about it today. We talked about not even having a slate, just because they're all good people.
Yeah,
everybody's good. I mean, we don't have any bad people.
People were concerned about this time around, so it was hard to really pick. However, so you have that option. You trust that our nomination committee picked the right people. Obviously, our leaders will be on there. You probably will see your name on it. I kind of from looking around. But we don't want to take anyone's right to pick your own people away. So there is an option. You can sit there and mark your 180 names. And that will just mean our teller committee will sit there and will have to go and count them and count them and count them. But they will do it. So we're not taking that right away from anyone. So no, don't.
Our option was to just have no slate. That's going to create a whole bunch of counting. Our option is we could just have votes and everybody's a delegate or an alternate. Then we got to figure out which ones are delegates and what order the alternates are in. That's a whole. I mean, it took us 2 years ago. It took a week
to count.
That is our main problem. I'm not concerned about any of the names. There's a few, but I'm not. There's always a few.
We have like maybe 5 that we concerned about.
We decide not to do the half vote then?
I think the decision about not doing the half vote is, if y'all have heard about what's going around in the state, we've done our job. We're congressional district is supposed to deliver our 90 delegates from Atlanta, from Greenville, which I think we will do on next Monday, and deliver the 57 votes from Spartanburg, which I think they will do on Saturday when they have their convention. But Charleston, complete washout. Beaufort, washout.
Not because
Berkeley's
of
going to be washed.
our people, because of the cheating that the Rhino leadership did.
Right. So we are going to come up short on
They
the leadership.
literally voted, did a voice vote on delegates and alternates. Voice vote.
Oh.
When we believe we had a good number of people that they had their own slate, but that was not even an
So
option.
you're saying washout means
We got
We got 0 votes out of Charleston. When last time, I mean, they have 70 delegates, and I think we got 68 of them or 65 of them last time.
Last time. This time
Last
it's
time.
0.
This time,
wow.
0. So
Sounds like they've got this in the bag.
yes. So there's less enthusiasm, I think, from people that understand that, of giving the state party $40 and going down there. Now, if you want to go, we can get you in there, and if you want, I actually think it's good to go and watch and see. If I could skip it, I'd like to stay at home and watch cartoons as opposed to that service. But that's the state of things as to where we are. It takes 472 votes to win. We probably got 400 of them. So unless you get a couple of Rhino counties that want to get rid of Drew too, which there are some establishment people that want to get rid of Drew, and so I know, and there's some corruption and some things in there, and I will tell you, it has gotten so bad. Lots of people had, and that's part of the problem. It has gotten so bad. They have cheated so hard. It's almost to a point where you can ignore it. I don't think law enforcement and some of the criminal prosecuting, I don't think you can ignore how bad what they've done. This is a part of the political process. You're talking elections. We have impact on elections. The state party organization is part of the election code of the state of South Carolina, our laws, and they are cheating it. They are telling people that they can't come into and participate because they are associated with mySCGOP. Voter suppression. I mean, it's become a serious problem. And part of my discussion points with other folks, even with the establishment folks, I'm like, you might want to cut a deal with us for that extra 100 votes against Drew McKill, because he may not be there. There may be a problem with the whole house comes burning down, from a legal perspective, and it is not pretty, So I mean, I don't expect, somebody to come ride in on a white horse and save us. I mean, the RNC's got their stuff, the Trump agendas. They're trying to fight China and whatever they're doing. I'm like, they got their own problems, and this type of stuff goes on in 50 states, and they can't come and save everybody. But I mean, it's our job. That's why my talking points to everybody: if you don't walk into that convention with 75% of the people, shame on you. That's not the way it should be. But if you want to guarantee victory, you need to walk in there with 75% of the people. And some of these counties didn't walk in there with 75% of the people. And that's.
Before people leave, I want to finish up with the agenda. The last item on the agenda, the last vote, will be to approve rules for the Greenville County Republican Party. We send those out for you to review on Monday. Just so you know, we kind of even consider, is that necessary? There is not really any change. What our rules committee did, it's formatted the current rules. I don't know, is there anything?
There is a substantive change. The rule on quorums was written by someone illiterate. We've corrected that.
So what did we correct? Can you go into details?
Well, the way it's written, it doesn't specify which number you're supposed to choose. Let me read the
It-
current one.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have to go into full details of it, but I mean, so that is the one substantive change. Everything else is just reordering. What we are going to do in the next probably 6 months is I'm going to ask the rules guys to do is let's go ahead and rewrite what we need to rewrite. Let's add our footnotes. Let's add our examples and descriptions, and then let's go ahead and get our executive committee to vote on it, approve it, and then we can approve it, live under it for the next 2 years, and then in 27 we'll vote and finalize it and make it. We didn't want to make two. I didn't even know they were making that one substantive change. We were just reordering it, but we do need that on the quorum side. But we need to clean it up. The state rules you can interpret. You read stuff and you can say I can see it this way. I can see it this way. We're not going to do that in Greenville. Right. And we may think about from an executive committee perspective, we may add some things. If you're going to run to be chair or whatever, 2 years from now, you tell the people 15 days beforehand. We got our credentialing folks sitting there, are we going to have a vote on this? Or are we not going to have a vote? If we're going to have a vote, we'll give you an opportunity. But I'm like, you don't want somebody standing up and saying, we're running for a position when nobody even knows who it is. There is a crazy person that will want to go up to the microphone to hear themselves speak. We don't want that.
If you cannot find these emails, you should. If you go to greenvillegop.com under events page, this is one of the events there. Our convention's at the top on the calendar event. If you go to this, I keep updating everything in here. And these are the emails that you can read. If you don't receive them, click on each link. It will take you to the whole email that was supposed to be in your mailbox. And the first email has the temporary rules, the rules of the convention, and the rules that we will be adopting. If you want to review that, they're all on that email.
We're talking about this right here.
Yes,
that's it. And I think it's just reordered, so it makes sense, a little bit of sense.
When it comes to the delegate lists, my real name being Chester, my nickname being Trace, is it possible without?
Not possible anymore.
They printed it already.
Okay.
But I will check, and whatever your name is on the ballot, it will be the same on the nominated list, which I remember you're on this.
I thought of confusion. You're like,
Yeah.
well, I know Trace, but I don't know Chester.
And
Right.
we
But that's why on Form 1 it says, how do you want your name on there?
I hope I did that.
Hopefully
and
you
we
did.
tried to match it and we tried to correct it, but I cannot remember how yours is, but it will match.
If I did, it's on me.
Yeah. Any other questions?
But I want people to see the state convention, so if you want to come and pay $40, come down there and see
And
it.
even if an alternate, there's only 90, and it's a little difficult this time because you're all so great and involved. We want all of you to be in the 90, but it's only 90. So
But don't think of it, that's the 90 voting, team after that, sit there as an alternate and watch.
if you're an alternate, you can still
Some of the
come.
best photos and pictures we got at the last convention were from the alternates sitting in the back. That could then give us enough, because we're down on the floor doing things. I'd almost rather sit there as an alternate and watch to see what's going on, because you can see it. The first convention I ever went to, another friend of mine from the Citadel, Lindsey Grant person. I was sitting there and I'm like, we're watching all how it's going on, and he made the comment. He's like, who's really controlling this convention isn't even in the room. It was the people that are sitting on the outside that are calling in and directing people what to do. We are stepping up our game, but we have not yet reached the level that we need to reach. That what Drew has done, and I give Buford credit. Those people, the two people that are on the bad side down there, the chair and state EC. They worked hard. They ran a hard game and won. What they did in Charleston is outright cheating. What they're probably going to do in Berkeley and Dorchester, quite possibly. But we'll see. Berkeley and Dorchester. So,
And as of Monday, we all be part of the War Room South Carolina. So we have all these cool stickers that you'll be able to wear and hopefully make Steve Bannon happy.
What was the first day that you sent out the email?
It was on Monday. Well, again, we send
we've
them all
been
the
sending
time.
them,
It
but-
was specifically to the delegates.
So it was Monday.
but only to the delegates. So, you know, it's. But we tried to post it online and always got it on the website. You can just click on there. It's not. I mean, it's not like you're missing anything. It's not. You know, it's not like we're sliding something by or something. I'm like, it's just. It's just general information to keep you informed. But come to the convention. That's the main thing.
Remember, did you
And
guys-
come early.
You guys watch the what is it called? The joint address with the Democrats having these little signs against Elon. Well, we'll have some signs too if you wanna when Donald speaks, or if you wanna. They're all positive for us. So if you ever like any comment that is being made, you are welcome to speak and address it with these. So we
I
have
want the 555. I'm gonna do that first.
volunteers working on these as well. So they will be available for.
Joe Jones like that, bought those and volunteered, and now we're
Try to make it
doing
fun
that. So
for us.
we want it to be a fun
Fun
event.
event.
If you've got the day off, if you're not working, come early to the convention center. Even if you're just walking around, looking around, but we can put you to work, have fun, help be part of that exciting time. Get there early because we will start credentialing people at 4. Get that done, and just see some of the vendors, meet, greet, talk to people, listen to Steve Eager and his friends on the music side. I'm sure they'll do some fun patriotic stuff. And then we've got the color guard walks in at 6:25. That'll get everybody falling in there. And Yvonne, hits in the gavel at 6:30, and let's get it as fast as possible so we can get to the speaking. Let's not waste time on any other stuff because I want Steve Bannon to speak as long as he can speak, as he can before people start saying, "We got to vote for these people and we got to be out of here about this." But
Based on our scheduling and if things go the way we wanted it to go, we are expected to be out of there by 9.
If we don't have competition, expect later, but that's okay.
We had meetings until midnight.
Yeah.
So there'll be signs where to park.
Oh, there's
Yes.
there's tons of parking around there. Parking's free. Yeah, but we're on that southern side by the Krispy Kreme side, so you can park on that side lower and come in the back, or you can park in that whole big area.
It's on the second floor.
Oh, yeah, we're on the
It's
second floor.
unloading, go
Yes.
on the one with the
We're on the
elevator.
second floor in the big
Not the
main
escalator.
ballroom.
We did ask
So
for access.
come up the escalators, whichever side you come up
I
the
consider
escalator.
it's the back side over towards the airport.
And there will be signage in the medians
If you
across
turn by Krispy Kreme,
the street. There will be signage
then
when
go all the way to the
signage
back.
when you're-
Can you please indicate on here what door we go in the morning?
You can come to
I know, I
Krispy
really-
Kreme. Yeah, that's the easiest. That's the way I always do it. Yeah.
No, I can't.
There's Pleasantburg, there's,
This is Krispy Kreme. And we did ask for
yeah,
access
Krispy Kreme.
from the back door.
So
We
there's-
were unloaded and they told us
This
to
is the escalator we always come in on with the big glass
They
windows.
have tried to nickel and dime the heck out of us. They literally added to our contract $800 some odd dollars for security because they saw that Steve Bannon was coming on the TV. I'm like, we told you Steve Bannon was coming. So, but now they think, we need extra security. I'm like, because you saw it on TV. I'm like, I saw the homeschool convention on
That's
TV.
just a satellite view.
It's
I don't understand it.
run by the city of Atlanta, city
I
of
would say
Greenville.
this would be
So.
the back side.
Oh, that's
This would be the back side.
He's been dealing with the airport.
Say it again?
Because if you're coming by Krispy Kreme,
I don't know. Maureen Bannon just texted a minute ago, asked what time he was speaking.
This is,
Okay,
I
Tower
don't.
Drive.
He's flying in and flying right back
You
out.
don't
So
wanna
what
go-
time they're going to get him, I don't know. We don't. I mean, it's been disappointing, but again, it goes back to there's weeks
I'm sorry,
where
I don't know.
there's decades where nothing happens,
I have
and
no
there's
idea.
weeks where
I
decades
don't
happen.
understand this man.
So there's a lot going on.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's Krispy Kreme right there. There's
Yes.
Krispy Kreme.
Okay,
4
I know
o'clock
you
we
don't-
start credentialing, but there's tons of parking. It's free. Oh yeah, there's tons of parking. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's there. It's out
Yeah,
there.
but the later you get, the further you're gonna have to walk.
I
Yeah.
think it's, yeah, you need to turn in.
Yes.
The expo pin, so that you go into the circle.
No, now
and
they
then
can't
go-
vote. It's just a guest sitting in the back
Okay,
watching
yeah.
and enjoying.
Yeah.
That's the main
But
part,
you
'cause
know, but they should register online. They can pay the $25, or we got some promo codes if you want if they want to come for free. I want people to come.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So to me, it doesn't really matter.
There is.
We want to,
Yeah.
you know, if you got some friends, you'll bring your wife.
What time are you gonna be there?
Probably 9.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Well, all right, Mr. Rules Guy. We're on TV. We're gonna. Hopefully, this worked out well. Hopefully, Olga's voice could be heard on the thing. We actually do have some comments. So we are learning this. Oh, Scott Gear, nice. This is live. Okay, good. So Scott at least is told us it works. So maybe he heard. We're gonna see how this goes. But thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next Friday. See you, friend. Bye.
Oh, that's what you're gonna have.